is the one. You're looking at this list,
Oh.
maybe, right? Maybe. Everyone, Grant here with Squad Help. I'm here with my colleague Jonathan, who is a naming consultant with Squad Help. In this video, we're going to continue our concept of advanced brand naming strategy and theory, and we're going to talk about why you shouldn't fall in love with a name immediately. Might not be exactly what you're thinking, but it's a really important topic that we see as a big stumbling block and a big hurdle throughout the naming process. As a little bit of background, Squad Help has done more than 30,000 naming projects, so we're using that information and all the experience to help you with, again, some of these advanced naming topics.
It's a huge stumbling block, Grant. I have a list of names. I'm a contest holder in a contest, and I want to choose a name, and I'm falling in love with that name because it resonates with me. What's the issue with that? I see a name,
Yeah,
I love it, and I mean, where
right.
do I go from there?
That's the question. So what is the problem with falling in love with a name? It seems like a good thing. You're coming in, you're probably brainstorming with your team. You
Mm-hmm.
have a bunch of names, maybe your, siblings are helping you, your parents are helping you. Whatever your situation is, you're at the brainstorming phase and the goal is to develop a lot of names.
Mm.
Um, and with our process, we do crowdsourcing. We also have a marketplace. There's a lot of names to look at. So why isn't the best practice to say, okay, I found it. That one is the one. You're looking at this list,
Oh.
maybe, right? Maybe it's 25, maybe it's 2000, whatever it is. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple things, but here's the big problem that we see again and again. Or at least the first angle. The first angle is if you fall in love with that name, you're only taking in your own perspective. And what can easily happen is you come in and you love it, and then you get to the trademark the process, and this is where you have to go out out of your own little world and say, can I actually use this name? And
Yeah.
the answer is no. And now you've seen all these names, you've become really attached to this one name, and this is it, and you had it, and then there's this big letdown because you know you just it becomes harder and harder every single day, I almost feel, to get a great name. And we've seen that specific point. It came about because of businesses like WordPress and Shopify, where it just becomes easier and easier to start a business.
Mm-hmm.
So the pool of business names becomes smaller and smaller as more people start their own businesses. Even in the 70s, the 80s, it wasn't easy to build a website. You couldn't launch an e-commerce site in 10 days or
Oh
so
no.
so so these things that are so easy today are wonderful, but it makes naming harder and harder and harder. So that trademark is a big reason. If you're working with a team, one thing that we see over and over again is that one person likes one name,
Oh.
one person likes another name, and that becomes the big struggle, and can lead down some paths that are not pretty. So becoming too attached to one given name. The other thing that we see again and again is audience testing.
Oh.
Internally, the name makes sense and you like it, and then you go external and that name doesn't resonate anymore. So the difference, the solution here is to, one, set up criteria for your name. Every name should do three things: should be easy to say, should be easy to spell,
Oh.
should be easy to remember. Right? I mean, these are the fundamental principles of naming. um, and then it should be a brand asset. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. We have many other pieces of content about it, but there should be some linkage between the name and your brand. And there's no right or wrong, perfect, we can go in that and probably have a 12-hour video on that. But for example, one of the things we talk about a lot is if you want a modern business, your name should have a modern feel.
Feel.
If you want a high-end business, your name should probably have a high-end feel. One simple strategy, but those are the things that you're thinking about. And as you're generating names, you're going to say your goal is not to say that one. I want that one. It is, here's a list of 4, 15, somewhere in there, names that fit my criteria. I can say them, I can spell them, I can remember them, and they fit my brand directionally. Because then, you can work through the next phases, which is, okay, maybe I have a team and we're going to come together and we're going to talk and we're going to take those 15 names. And as a group, we're going to decide which ones we can, find alignment behind, and multiple people can get behind them.
Right.
If you come with one and you share your team and say, this is the one, sometimes it works, but more oftentimes than not, there's some pushback. So when you have that, that list, that's going to help. When you get to the audience testing process, when you have 6 names and you say, okay, audience, which one of these do you think is the best fit for our company, is going to get you the most excited about learning more about our company, is typically how we think about it. Then you set yourself up for success with other people, with the people you're going to engage with. And then finally, a big one is trademark. When you get to that trademarking process and you have several names, 3 to 9 names, and you share them with the attorney, then likely at least a couple of them are going to make it through. There's nothing that I've seen in the naming process. Yeah, and you could speak to this. I'll finish with there's nothing more frustrating than saying, this is the one, my team is behind it, it has to be this, and the trademark attorney just goes, sorry, no, and you go, but it's the one. And unfortunately, the trademark attorney trumps that, because when you get that cease and desist letter, it doesn't matter how much you fell in love with it and how you wanted to tattoo it across your back. It's just, unfortunately,
it's not fun, right? Trademark is not, we've heard it so many times, it's not black and white, right, Grant? We've heard so many stories regarding trademark, and
right,
it's an important part of the process.
Yeah. And you've seen how many clients come to there, and just as well as I do, that names just get rejected, and there's no, in this world where everything is immediate and Amazon will deliver you almost anything in 2 days, it's just become so hard to accept that the thing I want, I can't have it. And it's really tough. And that's something about the naming process that just is very unique in our times, is it's getting harder as so many other things are getting easier, and we're getting so used to, I like it, I want to, give it to me. And naming is not that. It just, unfortunately.
Definitely need to do your due diligence on the name, especially so that you don't incur those costs in the future of a cease and desist letter and having to go through that process.
Absolutely. So when it comes to this topic, just to summarize, what we're talking about is a very functional aspect of the naming process. Brainstorming, lots of name ideas. Do not choose one name, decide that's the one, and try and shove it down everybody else's throat and pass it through trademark, or move forward without caring about trademark. Don't do that. Bad idea. Do set up some name criteria, some branding criteria, find some nice names, get buy-in within your organization. And there is sometimes some push that needs to happen, and get behind some of the names and then make sure, you're not letting, everybody doesn't have to just be head over heels in love with the name. That's not feasible either. But having that functional buy-in from everybody, and based on the criteria, not based on, I like it this morning, not based on, because there's a whole nother video on that, but I've seen people, they say, oh, I like it because it sounds like this other brand name or something. Like, that's not a good reason to choose a name. So if you just go and say, do you like this, basically you want to align it with the criteria. Say it, spell it, remember it, and functional fit within the brand. That's what you're talking about. So you have your criteria, you bring to the names, you get some buy-in, you go to your audience, you get some feedback, and then you go to trademark and make sure. And then of course domain, you got to make sure that there's a domain that fits. So that's my thought process.
Great points, Grant. And it's just that simple process that they can go through, collect all their names, select the one that fits their brand, and move forward.
Right.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.